Right guys, here we go again with another video log, little chat. How you doing? I hope everyone is just great. Here in Slovakia, when you want to ask somebody how they are, you say ako sa máš to somebody who is, if you're on friendly terms, if it's like a friend or a family member or something, you say ako sa máš. If you're speaking to somebody that you don't know, or is like an official person or something, you say ako sa máte. So the language changes slightly, and I'm sure there's probably a couple of Slovak guys that are going to end up watching this video going like, its pronunciation is terrible. But it's really strange here because like in Scotland, when you like meet people or you see friends, like you ask them how they are, you know, we don't really do that because we genuinely don't care. I mean, I genuinely don't care, you know, like I see people and I'll like say I spoke to like my brother and I go, how you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm alright. I genuinely don't give a shit, to be honest. I'm like, I don't care if it's good or bad or anything. I'm usually after something. That's just Scottish mentality, you know. And of course when you greet people, you know, it's very formal here sometimes. And like in Scotland, you know, you'd go up to somebody, like someone you've maybe not seen for a while, and you're like, alright. And that's it. Alright man, I've not seen you in ages. Cool. That's kind of like, that's it. That's the extent of the greeting. Here in Slovakia, you know, you have to be very polite. And when you ask somebody, how are you? You know, that's the question. How are you? Ako sa máš, ako sa máte. They tell you their life story. You know, they're like, oh, you know, I'm great. You know, my mum's been doing this, and my father's been doing that. And my brother's in trouble again, and you know, the dog had fleas, and it's just you can't just stand and look at them going, I don't care. Stop telling me these things. So when I do a job like what I do, and everybody comes in, it's kind of funny because I actually ended up with a student once that turned around to me and says, "You don't care." When he would always come in, I would say, "Hey, how are you?" And he'd be like, "You don't care," and I'm like, "No, I don't." You know, I was like, "I don't," but I'm still going to be polite and ask you, you know, "How are you?" And just all you have to say is, "I'm fine," or "I'm great," or "I'm good, thanks." You know, that's all I want to know. I don't want to know your life story. I don't care. Which brings you to the sort of differences between Scottish people and Slovak people. You know, people see Scottish people, and anyone that visits Scotland, they always go to the tourist places. You always go to Edinburgh, and they're like, "Oh, everybody was really nice." And it's like, yeah, Scottish people don't. My experience of Scottish people isn't like that. You know, when I lived in Edinburgh, I always found Scottish people really rude. But maybe that's just me. You know, and of course you wander around, you go to bars, and there's always a fight, and people are rude to each other, and Scottish people's tolerance of the world is just really bad. And you know, it's quite funny. Bloody car again. I was talking about this in the last video. It's like nobody around. Every time you go out without a camera and you walk about and there's nobody there, you go out with a camera and then you get passed by like 17 cars, 40 people, and a band, a parade. You know, it's always quite funny. In this village, a parade in this village would be hilarious. So I don't know what that would be about. You're like, nah, what's that about? But I always think Scottish people are really rude, and obviously we have this cultural thing. And it's funny because anyone that's from Scotland kind of gets this. It's known as being tight-fisted. And it's like you're tight-fisted, you're Scottish, you're tight-fisted. And it basically means we don't like spending money, and that's what tight-fisted means. It's like tight-fisted, so it's the description of holding on to what you've got and you don't want to release it, which is usually money in Scottish people's terms. And every Scottish person is like this. We're like, money, you want money from me? What am I getting from this? And you're like, well, you know. And when I went to the States, I got asked this question. You know, like you get the stereotypical questions, you know, like, do you wear a kilt? And of course you're like, yeah, of course I wear a kilt, I'm Scottish. I love kilts, I've got a few kilts. I'm quite proud of my Scottish heritage. And look, lo and behold, another one. You know, I'm very proud of my Scottish heritage. And I love wearing kilts. Kilts are like the coolest thing ever. It's the excuse to go out in a skirt and tell people that it's not a skirt when it really is a skirt. No, you're wearing a skirt, it's a kilt. Do you know why it's a kilt? Because we kilt the last person that called it a skirt. Which, if you get that reference, that's quite funny. But you know, it's such a cool thing. You know, I think we've got one of like the coolest traditions in the history of the world. Slovakia has a kind of similar one. They have like this traditional sort of like outfit dress thing. which they wear, which is very common around this sort of area. It's all kind of the same. It looks really smart actually, cool embroidery and stuff. And you know, like as a Scotsman, you know, I always get asked that question: do you wear a kilt? Then the next question that comes in is, what do you wear under your kilt? Which is always the funny question. Don't then. And you know, what do you wear under a kilt? Well, traditionally you wear nothing under a kilt because that's tradition. And do you know what? I've actually gone out today without a face mask on. I was going to nip in and grab a can of juice, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to now because I've not got a mask on me. You have to wear masks in the shops. I'm like, damn it. And I totally forgot to pick up a mask when I left the house, so I might not be able to go in the shop and grab a can of juice today. Damn it. They might let me away with it because I'm mental, and I can't say, they can't say wear a mask to me because I don't understand what they're saying, even though I really do. But yeah, Scottish people, so you get that sort of, you always get that. When I was in the States, the first time I was in the States, the Austin Powers film had just come out. So you had this cultural thing where like everybody expected you to be able to speak like Fat Bastard, the character in it, and of course with a Scottish accent that's fairly easy, to be fair. You know, so of course, like the first year that I was in the US, you know, they're like, oh, can you do Fat Bastard impressions? I was like, get in my belly. Ooh, you look tasty. Of course I can do it. I've got a Scottish accent. So that's what I spent most of my time doing. Then of course it was always do you have kilts? Yes. Would you wear anything under a kilt? No, because that's tradition. You don't wear anything under a kilt. That's tradition. Do you drink whiskey? Yeah. So I'm like the ultimate stereotype of a Scotsman. I've got like blondish red hair, yeah, I drink whiskey, I wear kilts, I speak with a Scottish accent, you know. I'm a stereotype. But here in Slovakia, I don't really know what a stereotype Slovak is. The culture and the people are so different in comparison to what I'm used to. I find them quite friendly. Especially when you're trying to get something. If you're trying to do something or get something and you don't speak the language, I always find them quite friendly. And Slovak people do what I do. When I say Scottish people, I don't find Scottish people friendly. And Slovaks are like, oh no, Slovak people are horrible. Everyone's an asshole. Because you're like, what? Everyone's really nice. And they're like, that's because you don't speak Slovak. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. And the interesting thing is like the way that they kind of see things here. You know, like for me, I walk around this village and like I know that I am the only foreigner, as per se, and I'm not known as the foreigner. Like when somebody speaks to like anyone that I know, or they address like my wife, they turn around and say, "Oh, you're married to the immigrant," you know, and you're like, "Whoa, you're married to the immigrant? That's amazing." You know, not, "Oh, your husband's Scottish, right?" No, he's the immigrant. So, I mean, the thought process sometimes I think is a wee bit backwards or a bit behind the rest of Europe, but I think the people are wonderful, and they're really interesting. And like I've spoken with so many really nice Slovak people that are just really accommodating, and they just want to be friendly to everyone, or to me anyway, which is really cool. I've got a couple of guys that I hang around with and spend some time with, and cultural wise, they're just amazing people. And the guys that I call friends, I think I'm really lucky to call them friends because they're so good as mates, you know, and I think that is something that they value. I think that comes from a slightly older generation value that a lot of the new generation today don't really have. And I find it quite strange sometimes, you know, when you go out and someone's actually really nice to you and they want to be your friend and they want to actually spend time with you. I find that, you know, I sometimes find that quite strange. I'm kind of like, what do you want? You know, I'm like, what do you want? That Scottish mentality. It's like, what do you want from me and how much is it going to cost me? And they're just like, no, I just want to hang out. And you're like, all right, okay, that's a bit strange. Buy me a cup of tea. You know, that again is a Scottish mentality. It's like, oh, you want to go out for lunch? Aye, if you're paying. They're like, I'll play. I was like, right, cool. And I get away with that a lot here. I used to get away with that a lot in America. You know, get across in America and I'm like, oh, would you like to go out for something to eat? Yeah, are you paying? Yeah, I'll pay. Great. You know, Scottish thing, honest. It's a proper Scottish thing. I was talking to Q Continuum the other night and he was talking about spending money on something and I perked my ears up and I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And how much money are you, how much money is involved? And he was just laughing at me. He's like, you're so Scottish. I was like, yeah. I was like, but no, seriously, how much money is involved? And I'll see. But anyway, so I'll get back onto this. I always stop this when I get to the shop. So I'll see if I can get into the shop without a mask on, quickly grab a can of juice. I don't know if I can, but hopefully I will. and I'll get back to the log in a second, so I'll catch up with you in a bit. Anyway, right, oh shit, just about dropped my cannon just there. What a catch that was. I wish I had that on camera, that would have been flipping amazing. Right, beeps, come on. So I was talking about cultural differences. I got onto the shop, they managed to let me in. I was very sly with that one. I was kind of like straight in, gave the money over and out. I was like, whoops. Just got a bit of a evil look, so I better not do that again. Whoops a daisy. Spreading corona. So talking about cultural differences between like the people, you know, I always found Scottish people weren't very friendly and weren't very helpful. Shut up! Freaking dog. Get my can of juice open so I can drink my juice and talk to the camera at the same time. Just now, I put this in the other hand because the camera's on the other side of the phone. So I always find that Scottish people are never really that helpful as well. You know, I mean, I remember once drinking Pepsi. No, I remember once when I was in Edinburgh, and you have to think about your accent when you're Scottish, especially when you're abroad, because no one understands us. Not when you speak with a thick Scottish accent. And I remember being out, and I remember I was out in Edinburgh, and this Japanese guy stops this Scottish lad to ask him what Edinburgh Castle was, right? And the funny thing is, if he turned his head like this, he was literally standing at the bottom of Edinburgh Castle, at the bottom of the hill at the other side of it. You can't miss Edinburgh Castle. It's huge, and it's a landmark in the capital. You can see it from just about everywhere. But what the Japanese guy was asking is, how does he get to the entrance? And obviously didn't speak great English. And you got this Scotsman who basically did this, right? He went, "Aye pal, what you want to be doing is you want to be following this road up around the corner there, and you'll go up that path, and then you'll find the entrance. It's like up at the copper road and that, eh?" And you know, I understand that because I'm Scottish. Most people that are Scottish that listen to this probably understand this. Most people that aren't Scottish that listen to that probably are stopping the video right now, rewinding it and listening to what I just said again and going, alright, okay, maybe, I kind of get what he means. And of course I was listening to it, and the Japanese guy was this tourist was just not a clue. He was just kind of looking at him like, what language are you talking? So I stopped him, and of course, being in America, when I first landed in America, a lot of people struggled with my accent. Come on, beeps. A lot of people struggled with my accent, and I kind of changed my accent a lot to what it's kind of like now. And it kind of fluctuates here and there. Sometimes it's really predominantly Scottish, other times it's not. And you know, I went across to this Japanese guy, and I sat and said, what are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? And he says, "Oh, I can understand you," was his first sentence. And I was like, "Yes, I'll talk nice and slowly for you. Where are you trying to go?" And of course he was like, "Edinburgh Castle." I was like, "That's Edinburgh Castle." That big thing right next to us. Giant big thing. Can't miss it. Edinburgh Castle. He says, "How do I get to the door?" I was like, "Right, what you want to do is stay on this pavement or sidewalk, depending on which region of the world you're in, and just follow it all the way around. Just stay on this road and just straight up, you'll see the entrance. You can't miss it. It's massive." And he was like, "Oh, thank you." I was like, brilliant. And the other Scottish guy was kind of like looking at me just a bit confused, like, that's what I told him. You know, I was like, no, what you told him was in Scottish, and nobody understands Scottish but Scottish people. It's like we use words in Scotland that nobody uses. So like when here in Slovakia, I have to really think about my accent sometimes. And sometimes I get quite comfortable with people, and I kind of resort back into speaking predominantly more Scottish with the accent, and I get comfortable with somebody that I think is understanding me, and I start talking a little bit quicker and stuff, and they start looking at you, go, "What was that? Again? Say that again? What was that?" And look, lo and behold, another car. The only day there's cars on the road is the days that I go out of the house, I swear. And you know, you sometimes get it, and of course working here, you know, like there's people that I speak to that I think speak really good English. folk that I work with and stuff, I think they speak brilliant English, and they're always really nervous around me sometimes, because they know that I speak pretty good English and quite educated English as well. And they're like, oh, you know, I don't know if I'm saying this right. And I always have this rule about English and say to people, like, simple English is the best English. That's always the rule. Simple English is the best English. If something is good, tell you that it's good. If something is bad, say it's bad. You don't need to use complicated words. You don't need to use difficult words. You know, but here I have to really think about my accent at times, because they don't understand me if I use a thick accent, or if I use like terminology that you can use in Scotland. You know, you use words in Scotland like banter, meaning having a laugh, having a banter, a bit of banter, and it's not really a word. Or dinny. I always have to explain, I always do this. The one word that I use a lot that I find very difficult to get out of my language is wee. I use the word wee, which means small, or little, or short, or something like that. You know, it's like that wee dog. That's a small dog. And of course people say, why don't you just say it's a small dog? And I was like, because it's not, it's a wee dog. It's a wee dog, it's a wee bag of chips, it's a wee ice cream, it's a wee trip down to the shop. Wee, W-E-E, wee. I'll get backed up by the bloody dog again, I hate him. He's got a problem with me, he doesn't like me at all. Good thing he's behind a big fence, he's a big bloody dog. You're sitting thinking like, oh my god, if he actually got out, he'd do a lot of damage if he actually got me. I bet he's probably a beautiful animal deep down his side, but look at him, he's at the fence there, he's like, I'm coming for you, man. I'm coming to get you. This one over here is a bit confused. He barks the opposite direction. So he doesn't look at you when he barks. He looks the opposite way. He's like, oh, I'm not happy about you walking past my house, but I'm not looking at you because I'm scared. Lovely dog, actually. He's quite a nice dog. But anyway, so like I was saying, I use words. I always that, and awesome. Awesome is like the best word in the world. The Americans use it a lot. Oh, that's awesome, man. And then you've got that song from the Lego movie, everything is awesome. You know, amazing song that. That's like the most cheesy song. It's really catchy, it's quite funny. And, you know, it's just a great wee song. And, you know, awesome in Slovak means number 8. So of course sometimes people look at you when I say, oh yeah, that's awesome, and they kind of look at me like, why did you just say that's the number 8? You know, which is, it's quite funny. And of course I'm like, no, awesome means like fantastic, brilliant, amazing. You know, it's awesome. Why don't you just say it's good? I'm like, because simple English, right? You know, irony. But anyway, so back onto the subject, because I'm really good at like coming off the subject. I got the dog with me. She's looking brilliant. Hey, baby, I got my stick with me today. Baby on the camera. Hey, you're a good girl. So it's beautiful. What day is it? It's so warm today. It's great. I'm just like dying of heat exhaustion. Like being Scottish, go outside, it's more than 10 degrees, I just melt. This is amazing. So the temperature's quite cool and stuff. There's another wee dog like staring at me. He's going to eat me. Grrr. The thing is though, that's the sort of dog that if you actually got through the fence, it would shit itself. You'd be like, aye, who are you barking at, pal? Having these is going to be like my downfall, because I never admit that I go and spend 20 cents on a can. Most days I go and spend 20 cents on a can of Pepsi because I just love a little can of Pepsi. Doesn't help the diet, honestly. But anybody watching this will find out, especially the wife. She'll find out, she'll be like, uh-huh. So you've been going down to the shop for a can of Pepsi? And I was like, yep, I do. I go down to the shop for a can of Pepsi. I just walked underneath the shadow of a tree. That's amazing. That feels amazing. It's like the temperature difference is incredible. You know, so yeah, so I went about talking about cultural differences between Slovaks and the rest of the world, or Scottish people. They're so nice to me, you know, they are. Everybody is so nice to me, especially when, you know, you kind of say the words, you kind of tell them that you don't speak Slovak, and then it's kind of like, it's either a panic or they try to accommodate you, and they're really enthusiastic too as well, which is really nice. And I like them. I think that culturally, I think it's a great country. The culture is brilliant. You know, I think it's a little bit backwards sometimes. It's a wee bit backwards thinking, but it comes from the generation of communism. You know, the country was a communist country at one point, and there's this almost feeling of togetherness with the entire culture. You know, it's like no matter what you're doing, everyone is always working together in some way, and if you're not working together, then they'll know somebody that can help you. And that's one of the things I find really funny between Scottish and Slovak people, where like